Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. It is a pleasure to be here today at this significant dialogue representing the United Arab Emirates. I extend my gratitude to the World Economic Forum and the UN Global Compact for co-hosting this session. We are gathered by a shared commitment to our planet's future and its people. We will address highly relevant topics that underscore the transformative capacity of investment, data, and technology in driving equitable, sustainable, and resilient food systems worldwide. However, to truly realize this vision, we must first acknowledge that we have a critical challenge facing us. Agri-food systems, as we all know, globally account for about 1/3 of the greenhouse gas emissions. And therefore, we must really rethink traditional agriculture and current agricultural practices to drive progress. And we cannot settle at the moment for regular pace progress. We have to be in a full accelerated mode to really achieve what was really going to truly serve humanity. To achieve that, we must leverage on the enablers that we have at our hands. We have technology, data, AI, and so many emerging enablers that will allow us to address this diverse and growing demand of our agri-food systems. As a scientist myself, I see the immense capabilities that data and technological potential offers. And in my role as a minister as well, I also recognize the responsibility that falls on our shoulders to ensure that those tools are well tailored to serve everyone. The UAE, a nation that has transformed its landscape through ingenuity and strategic investment, understand very well the power of leveraging technology and partnerships. It is this understanding that now drives our focus to revolutionizing the agricultural sector. Our approach to sustainable food security is guided by our leadership's vision that has been translated into our National Food Security Strategy 2051, which aims to implement resilient agricultural practices and boost local food production. In addition to strong policy levers and in enabling ecosystem, we have launched innovative finance mechanisms to encourage sustainable and equitable agri-food solutions. Technology is transforming our agricultural sector, driving sustainable practices and improving productivity. AI-powered systems, for instance, if powered with credible data, including environmental data, including soil conditions, weather patterns, and crop characteristics, can really provide significant optimization for irrigation, for enhancing pest management, and improving, as a result, crop yields. Beyond productivity, AI-driven tools are also enhancing transparency and traceability across food supply chains, supporting sustainability standards and building consumer trust. In the UAE, we are also actively moving away from resource-intensive farming. Our investment in sustainable methods like hydroponics, controlled environment agriculture is a testament to this. We are naturally in a very challenging environment, from water scarcity to high temperatures to limited arable lands, and we have nowhere but to resort to innovation. Innovation is as much about technology as it is about people. That is why we champion solutions co-developed with our farmers, empowering them with the essential tools and knowledge to thrive in this rapidly evolving agricultural landscape. But technology and policy alone are not enough. To truly unlock the transformative power of these innovations and AI and data and all of those enablers, we must cultivate an enabling ecosystem, one that champions collaboration, facilitate the adoption of tailored solutions, and nurtures enduring partnerships that are long-term partnerships so that we can really build those sustainable solutions and really harvest their momentum. We have seen tangible progress with the expansion of the Food Innovation Hub UAE, inaugurated in COP28 in partnership with the World Economic Forum, Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Global Initiatives, and the Ministry of Climate Change and the Environment has transformed into a dynamic ecosystem. It is purpose-built to tackle core food system challenges with a focus on arid climate food production, circularity, and expanding local food sources. Through a growing network of partners, the Hub is actively supporting innovators in piloting and scaling up their solutions inside the UAE and outside the UAE. The UAE active contribution to the UN Global Digital Compact represents yet another enabling framework designed to propel digital solutions across the food and agricultural ecosystem. And this comprehensive global framework for digital cooperation and AI governance bridges digital divides for a truly inclusive digital economy. Today's session is a significant platform to advance inclusive approaches that build trust and drive investments for a more equitable and resilient food systems. In closing, I want to reiterate that the UAE's commitment to multi-stakeholder approach have been shown over and over again in all the international platforms that whether hosted in the UAE or whether the UAE have contributed and have made sure to be present with impact and action as well. Let us work together to decode complexities and unlock possible solutions and unlock the potential, the huge potential that AI and data can really provide to us, and harvest that to truly serve humanity. I invite all participants to share their best practices, to identify opportunities for partnerships as we work together to build more resilient, sustainable, and equitable food systems for the future of our planet and the future of our generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for those inspiring remarks and also really demonstrating the commitment of the UAE towards using data most effectively and appropriately for its farming, building partnerships, and all of the very practical uses that you shared with us. So, distinguished guests, I'd now like to welcome our next speaker, Professor Joachim von Braun. He is the president of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, professor of Bonn University, and a dear fellow member and colleague of the high-level advisory group that worked towards the establishment of this Food System Summit and the work that we're doing for the next 2 days. So welcome, Professor von Braun.
Thank you, Sandra. Hi, good afternoon, colleagues, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate that the UN Global Compact and the World Economic Forum focuses with this investment dialogue on strategies to mobilize private sector investment and takes another look at data and artificial intelligence for agri-food systems. This is very timely, very important because things are changing rapidly in that field, lots of opportunities. Reaching farmers with technologies remains important, but the question is how to do that best. We must shift the conversation from tools for farmers to tools for food systems. Why? Because the shift opens up broader opportunities across value chains, across markets, across enterprises. It allows us to recognize and build on the digital transformation that is already unfolding worldwide, including in Africa. Entrepreneurs building trust-based market-facing solutions at scale. Across African food systems, we all know mobile phones have revolutionized access to information and market linkages. Similarly in Asia, entrepreneurs are using digital platforms to coordinate sourcing from thousands of small-scale producers, connecting them to buyers, reducing transactions cost, expanding market reach. Digital is no longer peripheral, it is the bridge. Further up the value chain, food and beverage processors in countries like Kenya, Nigeria, Ethiopia, South Africa, in this hemisphere, are integrating automation to improve product quality and efficiency in food processing. And that's not just large firms. Even businesses with fewer than 50 employees, our surveys show, are increasingly adopting these automation technologies, and they very much depend on digitization and artificial intelligence. These are the seeds of transformation, but we must nourish them with investments. And we cannot ignore the deep divides that still exist. Today, only about 30% of farmers under 1 hectare are served by mobile broadband. Many farmers prefer still face-to-face interactions, for instance, for price negotiations, training, and trust. Trust being part of the story of this session. Our research shows they are using phones not to start new business relationships, but mainly to strengthen existing ones. That's a reality. Digital tools, therefore, must build on, not bypass, trust-based systems. Intermediaries, dealers, extension agents, traders, already have networks and relationships. Rather than replacing them, let's digitally empower them. These intermediaries are a key target group of AI. They can be the critical last-mile connectors for AI. In short, intermediaries are not obstacles, they are infrastructure. They are soft infrastructure. Digital innovation in agriculture is full of potential, but you cannot eat potential, as the father of the Green Revolution, Nobel Prize winner, Nobel laureate Norman Borlaug kept saying. You cannot eat potential. Why does so much remain trapped in the prototype stage in this field we are discussing here? There are 3 reasons. 1, low digital capabilities from farmers to processors. 2, infrastructure gaps, electricity, connectivity, device access, and so on. And the access to remote sensing data is particularly limited, also from the intermediaries. And 3rd, lack of financing, and that was a lot discussed in the previous session here. We must move from pilots to investable enterprises. That means promoting digital entrepreneurs, but also the digitalization of entrepreneurs across the value chains. That includes supporting food processors to automate safely, retailers to adapt e-commerce, and traders to manage inventory digitally. Artificial intelligence brings transformative opportunities. We will soon be in the phase of generative AI. That may even mean artificial intelligence generating new crops. In the current forms of AI known to you here in the audience, still already important examples can be implemented and scaled. Let me mention 4. AI-enabled credit scoring can reach underserved rural borrowers by analyzing mobile data. 2, index insurance can use remote sensing to trigger payouts even without a smartphone. 4, AI-powered crop diagnostics can help extension agents give real-time advice using image recognition. And 4, in plant breeding, AI can unlock genomic insights to develop crops tailored to changing climates. We need AI because of the climate stress coming along. But let's be clear, AI is not neutral. Bias in data and lack of local representation in algorithms can marginalize groups and turn innovation into inequalities. That's why we need inclusive AI. Locally relevant data to train algorithms is a precondition for that, locally relevant data. In the diverse African hemisphere, that's particularly important. Interfaces need to be designed for low-end devices, not the smartest of the smartphones. Investments in digital skills from farmers and intermediaries to local developers is essential, and regulatory safeguards to ensure that no one is left behind is also critical in the field of transforming potential of AI in reality. Ladies and gentlemen, in view of more and more limited development aid finance, we must aim to attract private investment and build trust in digital agri-food systems. 5 priorities I want to highlight in conclusion, 5 priorities that may help us move forward. Number 1, investment in infrastructure, hard and soft, especially last-mile connectivity and reliable electricity. 2, financing at scale with blended finance tools that help digital businesses overcome the shortage. 3, build human capital through digital literacy, vocational training, and entrepreneurship support. And 4, strengthening trust by engaging intermediaries, I come back to that, enforcing data protection and promoting digital safeguards like ratings and quality standards. And last but not least, align technology with policy. We must pursue digital solutions not for their own sake, but because they deliver on food security. There are very interesting developments, especially on the technological front, happening. Let me just mention the new European Space Agency satellite, the ESA satellite called Biomass, which will deliver data from January next year onwards, identifying trees and roots of every tree around the world. Gives us the opportunity to identify the biomass potentials and lacks thereof for a bio-based economy in Africa and elsewhere. Soil carbon monitoring, satellite-based and with innovative ground truthing, will open up carbon markets where they currently are dormant. And optimal soil fertility management will be facilitated also by connecting the digital information from the satellites with ground truthing and AI-taught large data sets. So we are expecting a digital revolution with AI, current AI, and even more so generative AI. In closing, the future of Africa's food system, let me focus on that at the end, will not be written in code alone. It will be shaped by the policies we enact, the investments we mobilize, the trust we build between farmers, firms, data, people, innovation, and inclusion. Let's invest in digital systems to optimize processes that empower people. Let's make data and AI work for dignity, equity, and sustainability. Digital access is a rights issue. as we emphasized in the Academy of Science in the Vatican a few years ago. And it is good for business and for jobs of young people in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. As a former employee of a telecommunications company, everything that you said in terms of recommendations are music to my ears. But what was most important was seeing how you said these practical, digital, innovative solutions truly need that enabling environment, that policy environment, and trust to be able to thrive. You kicked us off by saying enough of pilots, we really need to see the scale. So thank you very much for those comments. Before I proceed to introduce the next speaker, Christine Gold, who will then facilitate the panels, I also just wanted to acknowledge and thank WEF, the World Economic Forum, with my colleague here, Federico Ronca, who has been so critical in terms of putting together this investment dialogue, mobilizing participants, and really getting us started on this really important discussion. So it's my honor to now welcome Christine Gold. She's the founder and chief executive officer of GIGA. The GIGA platform is a venture that's focused on scaling the world's most promising solutions to nourish the world and tackle climate change. So Christine, welcome to you, and you'll moderate the panels and take us forward along with colleagues from WEF. Let's give Christine a hand.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and colleagues, thank you for joining us for this thought-provoking session this afternoon. My name is Christine Gold, and as mentioned, I am the founder and CEO of GIGA Futures. We are a specialized innovation and investment platform built to connect startups, investors, companies, and countries in order to turn breakthrough ideas into billion-dollar opportunities that can transform our food systems. GIGA is a name, a mission, and a mindset. Because GIGA is big, it means billions, 10 to the 9th. It encapsulates both the magnitude of the challenges we face and the unprecedented opportunities that we aim to unleash. And in a time like this, there's no time to play small. We need bold, brave thinking and bold, brave actions to forge bigger, better, brighter futures, which we call GIGA Futures. And of course, digital technologies and artificial intelligence will be key enablers of this. In fact, the uptake of generative AI by consumers has been unmatched in history. It is the fastest growing consumer technology of all time. And what's clear is that the AI sector is ready to play big. Conversations, when it comes to AI, are already leaping beyond billions into trillions, from gigabytes to terabytes, and now even petabytes. And investments in this sector are in the trillions too, not just for the AI companies themselves, but for the massive systems and infrastructure behind it, energy, compute, and data centers that are needed to power this surge. So my question to you is, are we in food and agriculture keeping up? Agriculture remains the least digitized industry sector. Only a quarter of the world's farms have even 3G or 4G access. And in many regions, the average farmer is over the age of 60 years old and less familiar with the digital tools that younger generations take for granted. The digital divide is real, but that is also a massive opportunity. If AI can transform health, finance, and education, as we're seeing it do in real time, it can and must do the same for food and agriculture. But as we've heard from our previous speakers, this transformation must be inclusive. Farmers and rural communities cannot be left behind. They need to shape and benefit from every leap forward. We have the chance now to focus on enabling digital public infrastructure, interoperability of data, inclusion of intelligence and knowledge from indigenous peoples, we can look at the impact of digital and AI transformation across the value chain, from R&D through to eaters, between and across sectors, and for new use cases that include identifying and overcoming blind spots. We can look at skill building, a new talent pipeline for future food systems that doesn't just know how to navigate this technology, but also how to deploy it for maximum impact. Today's dialogue is about fostering trust, mobilizing bold investments, and ensuring that the speed and scale of AI works for everyone, especially those who feed the world. And with that, I'm excited to introduce our exciting panel for a rich and enlightening discussion. Please welcome to the stage C.D. Glenn, President of the PepsiCo Foundation, Katsuya Kishaki, Chief Strategy Officer for Safaricom Ethiopia, John Lucas Rispetto, Director General of the Alliance for Bioversity and SEAT, Mwande Ni Mailitua, Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya National Farmers Federation, and Sehena, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Nature Dots. Thank you. Please take your seats and find your names. I think. No. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, panel. Let's start with C.D. Glenn from PepsiCo Foundation. There are many conversations happening about the value of empowering users and co-creating solutions for food systems. So I have two questions for you. First is addressing the topic that has been brought up by many speakers, which is how can we address the persistent inequities that are involved in accessing data, technology, and investment across regions and communities? And my second question is, what policy levers is PepsiCo advancing to ensure that investments in digital transformation can really deliver on the progress towards more sustainable food systems?
Thank you, Christine, and thank you all for being here. It's a great afternoon, very, very inspiring panel on a really important topic. So, as was mentioned, I represent PepsiCo. I'm the Global Head of Social Impact and the PepsiCo Foundation, and many of you may know us and may think, okay, why is the guy from a soda company on a program and a platform around food insecurity? But what many may or may not know is PepsiCo is one of the world's largest food and beverage companies. We source 30 crops from 60 countries around the world, crops such as potatoes, corn, wheat, and oats, and we know those crops, but you also probably know some of the products, and those products include Lay's potato chips here in Ethiopia, Sun Chips in South Africa, Simba, corn, maybe you've had a Cheeto in your life or some Doritos, wheat, if you've had breakfast, you've had some of our products, whether that's Weetabix or whether that's Quaker Oats, and increasingly all of those products we're ensuring that they are lower in fat, salt, and sugar, and so being really, really focused on access to much more nutritious foods as well. And so as a food company, we're deeply rooted and deeply invested in agricultural systems and the communities, most importantly, the communities that empower them, the communities that really power the creation of those. And we're really committed to being what we call PepsiCo positive, how we source our crops, our ingredients in ways that restore the earth, improving livelihoods of farmers and strengthening the communities, as well as helping build a circular and inclusive value chains. And at the end of the day, we feel like thriving communities are what lead to a thriving food system, and that's really essential. And data and AI are central to how we operate today, even in how we'll grow tomorrow. So these technologies, AI technologies, data technologies, they help us do three things really critically. They help us make smarter decisions, where we reduce waste to improve outcomes across the value chain, but more importantly, they help us to empower the people at the heart of the food system, and that is especially farmers. So we're pairing digital innovation with human-centered design, say farmer centricity, aiming to ensure that the AI tools are not only effective, Christine, but they also are equitable and empower the people at the heart of the food system, that they're accessible to smallholders and underserved communities. So, let me give you some examples. We work with partners to co-create, that's a really important word, to co-create tools like Crop Track and AgroScout. So we use AI to help farmers monitor crop health, optimize inputs, and boost yields. And these aren't off-the-shelf solutions, and that's really critical as well. They're built with farmers, for farmers, and are tailored to local needs. And we're pairing these tools with training and workforce development in an effort to ensure that they're accessible and that they're inclusive. So really quickly, with Crop Track, this is where we use AI to help farmers monitor crop health, optimize their inputs, and boost their yields. We are applying AI to farm data to determine actual insights that can improve decision-making, optimize, again, their yields, but how do they apply fertilizer, how much to use, when to harvest, what seeds to use, all of that powerful information. And in AgroScout, we are working and using technology with potato farmers throughout Africa, here in Ethiopia, in South Africa, in Latin America, and in Asia, in countries like Thailand. This is an AI-based system integrating data collected by drones, combined with deep learning to provide insights on crop health, and this helps farmers identify and monitor crop disease more efficiently and accurately, and reduce pesticide use, as well as improving crop yields. So these are really important that we do have access to technology, but we know technology alone isn't enough. For these tools to reach their full potential, we need to invest in the enabling environment. Connectivity, data systems, and local capacity that makes digital solutions usable and impactful for farmers on the ground. By listening deeply, investing in community-driven innovation, we're helping to ensure that the benefits of AI and data are shared broadly, not just by those with the resources, big companies such as mine, but by those who we depend on, those who have the most at stake, smallholder farmers. In a way, in terms of policy, Christine, what's really critical is that there's collaboration and there's public-private partnerships. I can go more on that later, but just wanted to share that with policy for us, it really is critical that we have public-private partnerships to drive agricultural transformation.
Thank you so much, CD. It's really great to see PepsiCo. Yes, a round of applause. It's wonderful to see PepsiCo, stepping into really supporting your value chain, and not only that, really listening and hearing what the needs are. And you talked about getting them access to that intelligence, which requires more than just an app or artificial intelligence. It actually requires access to digital tools, including mobile phones. So I'd like to go over to you, Katsuya, you are the Chief Strategy Officer at Safaricom Ethiopia. We heard earlier about the need to collaborate across sectors, so it's great to have the telecommunications industry here. And I'd love to ask you, I mentioned in my remarks that about a quarter of farms, and sometimes even they say up to 37% of farms, under a hectare are served by 3G and 4G mobile networks, compared to 80% of farms that are large scale, over 200 hectares. This really does leave many of our smallholders disconnected from the ability to access basic digital technologies as well as AI-enabled digital services. So how can we overcome this?
Hello. Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, distinguished guests. So, my name is Katsuya Kashuki, Chief Strategy Officer of Safaricom Telecommunications Ethiopia. So, it's really a great honor to join this important conversation on how we can empower users and co-create solutions that drive equity in our food systems. So let me begin by sharing a bit about who we are. Safaricom Ethiopia is backed by Global Partnership for Ethiopia. This is a consortium that includes the Safaricom Kenya and Vodacom Group of South Africa, Vodafone Group UK, and Sumitomo Corporation Japan, World Bank IFC, and BII UK. So this partnership was formed with a clear purpose to unlock Ethiopia's potential and contribute to its sustainable development. So the answer to the first question, our first responsibility are to enhance our network footprint to the nationwide, aim to bridge the digital divide in the rural areas, particularly in agriculture, where smallholders, farmers, are underserved. So we are still in the process of expanding, but surely we reached in a few years as a commitment of our license. This is for sure. This is the first commitment I want to make. And second, the M-Pesa, our mobile money platform. So M-Pesa is not just a payment tool. So it is a financial lifeline, a data infrastructure, and a catalyst for inclusive growth. So it enables transparent, traceable financial flows across the food value chain, from subsidies to the payment to the remittance. So it can de-risk the investment through digital microloans and weather-indexed insurance tailored to the needs of the smallholder farmers. So it facilitates the efficient delivery of the climate and social investment, and even in remote and conflict-affected areas. So through M-Pesa, the farmers could build digital finance identities, the transaction histories, and credit profiles that unlock access to the capital and market and government programs. So we are working with cooperatives and agribusiness partners to digitize payment, ensuring that farmers are paid on time, security, and transparency. So, but empowerment is not just about service. It's about building digital ecosystem that help users make informed decisions, from market linkage to the advisory tools to climate smart alerts. And most important, we believe, collaboration. We work closely with government, NGO, and innovators to ensure that our platform aligns with broader policy and development goals. In Ethiopia, we are collaborating with JICA and Russia, local agri-farms, and Hybrid Bank on what wheat value chain financing pilot. This is a powerful example. By disbursing loan through M-Pesa directly to the farmer's phone, we ensure secure, transparent, and user-controlled financing process. This is a lifetime that reduces risk and builds resilience. So our simple mission is to ensure that digital revolution leaves no one behind. And the users, especially those traditionally excluded, become co-creators of the food system they rely on. So the Safaricom is proud to carry out the trust of the global partners and responsibility to help shape a more inclusive, resilient, and equitable future for Ethiopia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Katsuya. And welcome to you, Juan Lucas Restrepo, Director General of the Alliance for Biodiversity and SEAT. You have really been at the forefront of leveraging cutting-edge digital technologies in your research programs. And I had the pleasure of visiting your team in Colombia recently and seeing your machine learning and AI-powered gene bank in person. It was incredible stuff. So my question to you is, what are the main barriers to adoption of data-driven and AI solutions among smallholder farmers and local communities in the work that you do?
Thank you for not only the question, but for visiting us in our Cali campus in Colombia. And it's open, and everybody is welcome to visit and know our work on leveraging agrobiodiversity for current and future generations. So in terms of the barriers, and we heard some of these from the keynote and my predecessors, we do a lot of digital and artificial intelligence work, but we are also keen on understanding who our ultimate customer is. And we do this with a sense, and that's the name of our research area is called digital inclusion. We are convinced that if we do not intervene in certain spaces, certain groups, and just allow technology to advance, digital to advance, AI to advance, we are going to see more marginalized and left out communities. So in order to do that, we need to do a couple of things. First, look at what are those barriers and who needs to help bridge them. So of course, lack of connectivity and high costs, we heard about it, is very critical. There is also the digital illiteracy gap, which you can provide the training, you can reach out, but you need to understand the cultural dimensions and the illiteracy to really make sure you design and you are as user-friendly as possible to open ground for those populations. Social and gender inequality is critical. You may have fantastic assets, household assets that can help these households, but the control over those assets sometimes is limited because social norms or other norms, and they are restricted in time and mobility. So youth and women inclusion is going to be critical for this. And then we've seen a lot something that we call lack of trust. So you enter a space without prior notice, and the community may resist, just something that is exotic. So just to close it, we therefore need to make sure that we co-create and co-design for inclusivity. And one example that we're very proud of, that we developed from Arusha in Tanzania, is the state-of-the-art computer vision phenotyping process to allow communities, breeders, small and large, to understand and read in a more accurate and faster way what is on their field and help them select and help accelerate the rates of improvement of those crops. Therefore, changing the role of a conventional breeder that needed to be there on the field, etc. Now we can have farmers really going for the data taking, and therefore ensuring that they are also going to become early adopters of the technology. So this participatory element in co-design is critical. And then to finalize, relying on youth. In youth, there are some parts of the population that are early adopters of technology in their communities, and if we get them better skills, they can become leaders in the community to help incorporate new technology, bridge those elements of trust, and also participate in ways to make sure this digital inclusion gap is bridged in a better manner.
That's amazing. Co-creating for inclusivity. I have to say that in my previous work running the Global Next Generation Innovation Community Thought for Food, we always asked our budding entrepreneurs who were building solutions for agriculture a key question, which was WTF, where's the farmer? Including farmers, as you said, ensures uptake and use of new technologies and can move solutions beyond that pilot phase, which I call sometimes pilot purgatory, into scale-up potential. So we'd love to hear from you, Mwende, Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya National Farmers. How do we make the case for farmer-led digital futures? One that ensures fair access among smallholder farmers and local communities, and that their voice is really heard and included in the solutions being developed and deployed. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mwenda Tomailoda. I'm the CEO of Kenya National Farmers Federation, KENA, which is the apex umbrella farmers organization in Kenya, representing 1.4 million farmers, cutting across all the value chains. We are a member of the World Farmers Organization, WFO, which is also been working on digital policies that affect farmers. Now, I'm happy that I'm here, of course, on this table because the farmer is the guy we are all talking about. So it's good that farmers are here also to talk about this. Now, from the keynote, we've heard, and from my predecessors here, I've heard a lot about digital literacy, preparedness, digital inclusion, affordability, reliability, and all that. And that is all good because at the end of it all, if the farmers do not understand, if the farmers do not have the ability to access or afford these digital tools that we are talking about, they will not be able to co-create. So I think what we need to first look at is what we are talking about understood by the farmers. So this is digital literacy. That is very important because unless they understand, they are not going to participate. Then the other question is affordability. Is this something they can afford? And this also goes to the devices. Are they affordable to the farmers? Remember, we are talking about the last mile here. But without the farmer, really, we wouldn't talk about anything else because these are the producers. So affordability is important. And then connectivity. This is also very important. Are they able to connect? Again, when we talk about the last mile, we are talking about populations in rural areas, very rural areas across the world, and particularly in Africa. So is the connectivity there? So these are all very important factors that we need to consider. At the Kenya National Farmers Federation, we are part of the World Economic Forum's Food Innovators Network, which looks at digital preparedness, because I think this is very key in all this. Farmers prepared, because like I have said, if they are not, then they will not be able to participate. And then I want to give a concrete example that KENAF is working on digital inclusion. And this is something we are very excited about because it brings together all the factors that I have mentioned. We are working with MasterCard Corporation through an initiative they call FAMPAS, but in Kenya we are calling it Sauti ya Mkulima. Sauti ya Mkulima is Swahili for the farmer's voice, meaning that this is a way in which the voice of the farmers will be heard in the market. We are working with Microsoft for connectivity, so Microsoft is helping us connect the cooperatives that we are working with that are not connected. And we are working with the African Development Bank, which is providing some technical assistance for this digital literacy for farmers, reaching out to the farmers and training them on how to really leverage this. The idea behind this is like what my colleague from Safaricom Ethiopia talked about is are the farmers going to, are they able to have digital profiles? Because a lot of times we talk about farmers being a dark hole, that farmers are not known. But through this Sauti ya Mkulima initiative, we are creating digital profiles of farmers, enabling them to not only transact with inputs providers and credit institutions, but also in the market. So a farmer can directly sell his maize or beans or potatoes or milk directly to the market, engaging with the market, with the consumer. And this is very key because, again, we've talked about trust. Trust is very important here. So unless we have trust, the entire thing crumbles down. So through these digital profiles, the farmer not only establishes their credentials as, I'm able to, you can see my profile over the past 2, 3, 4 years, so I should access a cheaper loan, or I should access this input at a cheaper price. The consumer will be able to know the farmer, that the farmer produces in ways that enhance food quality and safety, which is very important for a lot of consumers. So I think through this, we have a target of reaching out to 3 million farmers by December 2027. We are now approaching 500,000, so I believe this is a target we are going to hit. And this will be a concrete example, really, on how we can leverage digital solutions to enhance the agency of the farmer, not only in production, but also in the market where it really matters.
Absolutely amazing work. I just realized it's very nerve-wracking up here in front of all of you, but we also forgot to clap for Juan Lucas, so I suggest we do a round of applause for both of you. Thank you for your great intervention. And now I'm really excited to hear from an entrepreneur who I know is living and breathing so much of what we heard as she builds the future powered by AI in benefit of people and the planet. Snehal Verma, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Nature Dots. I'd like to ask you, startups play a crucial role as they implement transformative solutions more rapidly and with more agility, particularly in areas like food waste reduction and sustainable innovation. So what are you most excited by when it comes to digital and AI transformation in food and ag? And how are you actually taking concrete efforts to include more voices and perspectives?
Thank you so much, Christine. Hello, everyone. So, yes, we are the place where actual magic happens. We've been listening to some of the very key points shared in the panel before, as well as in the Food Summit. There's a lot of conversation on AI and data. What really excites us now is that we have such a huge technology breakthrough globally that now it's possible to compute millions and billions of data points very effectively and help transition to a more resilient systems-based food production systems with farmers and local communities involved, and also helping them conquer the digital literacy gap, because as an AI startup working in digital twin space, and we work with around 6,700 fish farmers, and we've been able to bring them to a level where now with our system they can, without getting over bombarded with the complex information that sometimes new tools provide, they can easily and effectively manage their resources. Something that really excites us also is how adaptive they are to actually ingest new information and change some of their practices to make it more nature positive, and also mainstream the climate resilience conversations in this space. But as a startup, something where we also see the gap is the need for patient catalytic capitals on the principle of cost first, loss capital, to sort of de-risk some of these initial deployments, because it takes a lot of trust building when you're working with communities and farmers specifically. So, yeah.
Amazing. So I know we are over time. Thank you. Yes? So now we're going to do a rapid fire Q&A. We've heard about the incredible work that your organizations are doing and the concrete projects that you're taking forward to build trust and make a real impact. So as we round out the session, I have one quick question, which I'd like you to answer in 10, maximum 30 seconds, which is, what do you need from policy and investment? And please be concrete. We know that we need collaboration and partnerships and, of course, capital. But specifically, what can the leaders in this room do to unleash the vast potential of digital and AI in this sector? So let's go in reverse order and start with our entrepreneur, Sneha.
Yes, thank you so much, Christine. So what we've seen as a startup, when you're launching the new technologies, you not only need capital, but of course you need a network capital also. And that sort of really gets us the opportunity to go out there, learn more, and we've been part of the Food Innovators Network supported by World Economic Forum, and that has given us a platform and a boost to actually come to forums such as the Food Summit, brainstorm with other stakeholders, and that capital, that relationship and network capital also helps us upskill quickly and learn from other solutions or initiatives that are there to sort of avoid those pitfalls and deploy our strategic resources more better. In addition to this, we need to sort of rethink how some of the unconventional problems that unconventional startups such as ours are working on, and push the investment space also to rethink their metrics on making their investment approaches towards these new technologies, working on some of the critical areas, especially in food and ag space. Those are two main things.
So social capital, making introductions that can help you propel forward.
In addition to the finance.
Exactly, and of course the finance. And creative innovation, or thinking around investments. Mwenda, over to you.
Three things which require finances and policy support. So that is universal rural connectivity, affordable devices, and digital literacy for farmers.
Amazing. Juan Lucas?
Just following my colleagues, three things. The first one, absolutely, is a call on the public sector, governments, donors to bridge the digital divide as a public good. The rural infrastructure is totally critical. The second is, let's not only think about investing in technology, but let's invest in people and partnerships accompanying those efforts. And the third one is, let's ensure that what we build is built from trust, inclusion, accountability. So the voice of users and organizations in the governance of digital is going to be very critical going forward.
Thank you so much. CD?
That's great. I take a page out of what we just heard, and so trust, inclusion, accountability, but I look at it sort of as a parent, and we all tell our children, sharing is caring. You know, sharing is caring. So what we really need is shared risk, shared value, and shared data. And we feel like this can accelerate adoption of digital tools and regenerative agricultural practice. Sharing is caring. Let's share more.
Sharing is caring, hashtag that. Katsuya?
Yes, as telecom operators, I mentioned first, to fix this digital divide, to go into the rural to cover the whole countries is really the challenge. Although I saw that, I said that this is their commitment, but deep inside and cover entire nations is really the technically challenge. And also, so financially, if authorities can support, kind of subsidize to cover, then it will accelerate us to do. Otherwise, we will, as a nature of the commercial entities, to focus on the more urban or suburban. But as a national interest, we need to cover so we need to have a collaboration with authority, like a subsidization, to cover those matters.
Thank you so much for all of you for being very specific. These are big challenges to overcome, but they are also giga opportunities that have the chance to unlock the $12 trillion food systems transformation opportunity that is ripe for the taking. And now we will, you wanted to add something?
No, I just wanted to add, I was hearing everyone, I was thinking of one point, demonstration and pilots really help to sort of bring all the stakeholders together and also create a proof that how these things would function, and especially for companies and startups, imbibing the principles of responsible AI, equity, right from the design of the product or system solutions can really help avoid some of the risks that are also there with AI and data.
It's taking the time to slow down so that we can speed up to unlock this potential. I love that. And now we're going to move to panel 2, which is all about bridging the tech gap and building trust and investment in agri-food systems. Thank you all very much for sharing your expertise. And we look forward to more. Oh, yes. We're going to take a group picture, please. Down?
All right, looking at time, let's try to speed up a bit, and thank you, Christine. Thank you so much. My name is Federico Ronca from the World Economic Forum. On behalf of my organization, please let me start with thanking Sanda at the UN Global Compact for the collaboration in structuring this session, the UN Food System Coordination Hub, the government of Italy and Ethiopia hosting the summit, and all the speakers and the partners joining us for this critical discussion. As we heard, it's a very critical discussion. Let me start with introducing the speakers for the second panel and inviting them on stage, starting with Deborah Maloa, Head of Africa at Bayer Crop Science, John Matogo, Corporate Social Responsibility Leader for Middle East and Africa at IBM, Bev Postma, Executive Director at GrowAsia, and Jenny Lofbaum, Country Director for Kenya at IDH. Please give them an applause. See the names, but yeah, thank you. Please get comfortable. So, dear colleagues, I think that based on what we heard, we can all agree on the fact that if we want the digital tools and artificial intelligence to help us transform our food systems, we need to break out of our silos. Bridging the tech gap is not just about building new tools. It's mostly about building trust, as we just heard, across a fragmented and more polarized landscape. Without collaboration, there is no inclusion. And without inclusion, innovation cannot serve the communities who need it the most. With that said, Deborah, I would like to turn to you first, as Head of Africa for Bayer. And from your experience on the ground, I would like to ask you, what do you think are the main barriers that you see to the adoption of data-driven and AI solutions among the smallholder farmers and the local communities across the African continent?
Oh, thank you, and thank you for having us here today. This is actually quite a critical and important question. Smallholder farmers produce 70% of the continent's food. So on one hand, they've got immense potential to both to feed the continent and also to power economic resilience. But then we see a huge gap between the promise of technology and the lived experiences of these smallholder farmers. And with my experience across Africa, both on the commercial farmer segment and the smallholder systems, I've seen the barriers for smallholders fall in 5 areas. And I'll touch briefly on them. We heard earlier about the last mile digital infrastructure. Poor and unreliable networks, limited internet access, and the high cost of data in many rural areas. Think about it, if a farmer cannot connect, how will he benefit from real-time weather alerts, from market prices, from advisory tools? This remains the major barrier or bottleneck across rural Africa. But it's not just connectivity when we think about digital infrastructure. It's also about digital design. Are tools built to work offline? Are they built to work in low literacy areas, with local languages, and with minimal bandwidth? If not, we are still excluding the people who need them most, which is the smallholder farmers. Second is trust. We've heard a lot about trust. And it's not trusting in the technology, but it's in the actors behind the technology. Farmers are deeply pragmatic human beings. They don't adopt innovation just because it's trendy. They adopt what works, they adopt what's proven, and most importantly, they adopt what is recommended by someone they know and trust. Too many tech solutions today are still developed in labs and not in the fields. These tech solutions speak the language of Silicon Valley and not of the agro dealers or farmer cooperatives. What is needed is co-creation, solutions built with farmers, not just for them, grounded in local context, visible proof that they work over multiple seasons, not just one. Third, we heard about data. And data poverty is the third barrier. And it's not because there's no data, but because data is fragmented, inaccessible, and locked in silos. And remember, the smallholder farmers work outside the formal value chain. There is no digital footprint on what they grow, on what they harvest, and when they harvest, and what inputs they use. That makes it really hard for AI solutions to personalize recommendations, or even for financial services providers to assess risk or credit offerings. And this is where public-private partnerships and open data platforms become critical. We need systems that put all this data together, anonymize the data to enable us to drive insights, whilst protecting the farmer's privacy and ownership. And then one of the biggest hurdles is cost and access to finance. Even if the digital solution is helpful, the smallholder farmer operates in tight seasonal cash flow. Every penny counts for them. Do you really think they're going to pay for database services and invest in that when the tech is unfamiliar? That is a high risk to them. So many tech platforms assume today that smallholder farmers can pay upfront, but that is rarely the case. What they need is integrated solutions where the tech is bundled. For example, when it comes to financing, where loans are bundled with the price of seed or fertilizers. Insurance, somebody earlier talked about weather-indexed insurance. There's a fantastic product coming through in Africa where actually when they purchase the input, they wait for the threshold, the weather alert threshold to come through. They don't wait for the event to happen when they've lost their crop. Once you reach that threshold, the insurance kicks in. So you don't put the farmer at complete risk at harvest time is when you're saying drought happened. Obviously drought happened, but the insurance kicks in early. These are type of solutions we need to think about, not standalone apps offering finance or offering just insurance or offering just pricing. You've got to think about what solution you're providing to the farmer. And you've got to really think about the entire farmer journey. Lastly, and probably most critically, is about the human capacity gap. When we think, even when infrastructure exists, and even when the solution is affordable, many farmers are not confident in using digital tools. Actually, I put it to you, many of us are not even confident in using digital tools, but we'll talk about it. So it's not just about smartphones, it's about understanding how to act on the data that they use. Adoption is not a tech challenge, it is a human one. And that is why, and somebody mentioned it earlier, trusted intermediaries are extremely powerful in the smallholder ecosystem. Agro-dealers, extension workers, community-based organizations, farmers within cooperatives, these are the people you skill first. Equip and skill them on the digital tool because they will be the bridge to the smallholder farmer. They are the ones the smallholder farmer trusts. They are the ones who will drive adoption. So we need to shift from asking, how do we scale technology, to how do we scale trust? That is the question. Thank you.
It is. Thank you, Deborah. And you're bringing a very interesting point, right? We need to be speaking the language of the farmers. And John, I would like to turn to you now. And it's so great to have a company like IBM joining the UN Food Systems Summit. So we're very glad to have you here. And we know that farmers, we heard from an incredible representative, right, from Kenya. They're doing an amazing job in the country. But they're facing big challenges, right, to remain profitable, productive, and sustainable at the same time in the face of climate challenges and environmental threats that we are all aware of. What strategies is IBM using to ensure that the farmers are ready and equipped to be resilient in front of these challenges?
Thank you, Federico, and greetings, everyone. Well, I think from the onset, IBM is, we are a data and AI company. And what we see is, and true to our purpose, is how can we use this technology to make the world work better? In this context, how can we make it possible for the farmers to be more efficient in their production? And so in our role, what we see and where we see we could support this is in making or setting standards that would allow for data exchange, data access, as has been shared by colleagues here, that would empower the farmers in this case and all the other players who are in the food system space, while protecting the privacy and also building trust across the food system. The other thing I believe we could do, being a technology company, is to help in the development of the digital literacy that has been pointed out as a key element to ensure that the adoption of some of these technology solutions are actually successful. And also enabling the data exchange between all the different players within this ecosystem. So through technology like APIs to make it work. From an IBM perspective, we have tried this and actually implemented this. So I'm responsible for our social investment programs, and we run an accelerator program where every year we support initiatives that are addressing some aspect of climate change, or in this case here, we had one that was around sustainable agriculture. And we use these projects to help farmers through some of our partner organizations in different countries to actually develop projects that would build or strengthen some of the food systems. To share some examples, we had one in Malawi, and through a partnership with Haifa, we developed a solution that would help farmers in Malawi access visual agricultural data, deliver specialized recommendations to the farmers through AI climate modeling that are enabled with climate modeling, and would allow the farmers to better manage their farms. And the challenge here is the farmers have access to information, but the problem is that this many times is generalized information. What this solution helps them to do is to give much more personalized, much more specialized information that would be appropriate for that particular individual. And with this kind of support, what you do is you unlock data that then opens up a number of other opportunities, like other colleagues have mentioned, where you have other players that are then able to come in, whether it is input providers, whether it's a fintech company that would then innovate and bring solutions that would enable them access credit that they would not have been able to do so. The other thing I would also, just to share in this, we have similar projects in South America. We've also implemented some in India and also in other parts of the world. And I believe, there is opportunity to also learn where these projects have been implemented and how they could support farmers in different locations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe. Bev, I would like to go to you now. You came all the way from Singapore to bring also the perspective, right, from that side. So, as we know, closing the technology gap is a complex challenge. We are hearing that, right? But with a huge network and experience, right, from that side of the world, what lessons can you share from Grow Asia in terms of strategies that we should implement to tackle the ongoing gaps in accessing data, technology, but also investments across the different regions and communities?
Thank you very much. And I certainly want to build on the comments that were already made, but allow me just to share the size of the opportunity. I think we've learned a lot about the challenges we face, but it's vital that we also understand the scale of the investment opportunity and how fast this is developing, especially in Asia. We know that the global smart farming market at the moment is expected to reach $35.23 billion by 2030. And in Asia, we're seeing an exponential growth in the development and adoption of digital tools and agri-tech solutions that are targeted at smallholder farmers. The global agricultural Internet of Things market is estimated at $28 billion in 2024 and it's projected to reach 54.38 billion US dollars by 2030. The growth of this is outstripping pretty much every other field of opportunity at the moment in the farming ecosystem, with a compound annual growth rate of 10.5% from 2025 to 2030. If we move to AI, the market in agriculture is still nascent, but it's expected to reach 2.55 billion US dollars by 2025. And the growth rate is so rapid that that number is being renewed every few months. We're seeing a compound annual growth rate of 22.55%, and it's expected to reach 7 billion US dollars by 2030. Now, these predictions we're seeing in Asia are attracting a whole new wave of investors who would not typically consider investing in the agri-food sector. We've been riding this wave in Asia with these new investors, but it's bringing an entirely new set of insights and challenges. The problem we're seeing at Grow Asia, we're an accredited entity of Southeast Asia nations of ASEAN, we're seeing that farm gate adoption of AI and digital tools is just not keeping pace with the availability of these new technologies and investments. Alarmingly, the adoption of digital tools in Southeast Asia by smallholders is lagging other regions, including Africa. Less than 5% of smallholders are adopting any form of digital technology at the moment, and we need to understand why. Although we're seeing an expectation of digital economy to triple by 2030, we know that 100 million smallholder farmers are forming the foundation of our food systems, yet they're being left behind in the design and the delivery of these agri-tech solutions. In the last few years, we've examined the key barriers. Why are farmers struggling to adopt these new technologies? We know that one of the biggest challenges is the lack of affordable finance, that there is a desire for farmers to adopt new technologies, but there is a lack of working capital, that affordable loans are just not reaching smallholders. And unless we solve that financing challenge, we're going to continue seeing this investment opportunity is not being met by the realities in the field. We know that our dialogues with farmers and partners in the region, we've learned that agri-technologies, data and AI can only drive productivity and equity when they're embedded in the farming realities. Too often, digital solutions are being built in silos, usually by super smart innovators and entrepreneurs that are based in cities and urban centers. They may be focused on solving the problem, but they are often detached from the needs of smallholders, which are their customers. Our experience in the region has shown that inclusive innovation begins with trust. Farmers are typically risk-averse and very pragmatic adopters of new technology, and rightfully so. They need to see very clear, tangible benefits and feel a sense of ownership over the tools and technologies that they are expected to use. That's why at Grow Asia, we have worked with investors and farmers to launch Grow Ventures. It's a blended finance platform that brings together public, private, and philanthropy actors to accelerate adoption of climate-smart innovations and digital solutions. Through Grow Ventures, we're bridging this digital divide for smallholders by supporting a new generation of innovators to build field-tested, farmer-validated tools with support from anchor public sector donors, such as the Korean government and private sector partners, including companies like Visa and Taiwan and Cargill. We're investing in these field-tested, human-centered design innovations that demonstrate the real value of digital tools and AI tools for underserved communities. These solutions are now being piloted in countries like Cambodia and Vietnam, and with the Philippines due to follow this year. This approach has reaffirmed our fundamental insight that the main barriers to adoption are not just infrastructure or affordability, but also trust. The usability and relevance of these tools are really vital. We cannot take this for granted. Adoption begins not with the technology itself, which is exciting and very appealing, but with the confidence that farmers are placing in that technology.
And please, let me stop you there just in a matter of time, but I think you're raising extremely important points, and I would also like Jenny to complement and bring the perspective from IDH. Because what we are talking about is that these challenges are systemic, right? They span borders, sectors, and industries. So from your perspective and the global work that IDH is conducting, what is your point on data and artificial intelligence to be leveraged to drive both productivity and equity on the other side?
Yeah, so I agree with a lot of things that have already been mentioned about trust and adoption and how to design solutions, etc. And as IDH, we are both a philanthropic foundation working with philanthropic resources, but we also have an investment arm and a service provider arm. So we work across different spectra of the sector. And for us, data is the foundation for investment readiness. Working with SMEs, etc., they need to know what they're doing. They need to know who they're sourcing from, what revenues they're driving, etc., etc. And we are helping companies look at their business models and design their inclusive business model, where we look at both the company side and the P&Ls that they are driving, as well as the farmer P&L. And we, as the Farm Feed Fund, we are also investing with companies to enhance their technology, because there is internal technology that companies are driving on how to include the smallholders and the farmers that they source from in their supply chains. For example, we have invested with a coffee sourcing company, a farmer-led company in Latin America, that through inclusive systems are providing both finance, advice, inputs, and control on sales for their farmers with technical tools. But because the inclusion divide is there, they're also combining it with the field agents that are available. So if you are a little bit more tech savvy, you can use the tech route. If you need some more support, you have the physical route to go. We're also looking at how companies can work on digital training, etc., and how to create better adoption, because we all know that adoption of digital tools is sometimes difficult. But if you combine different services, as Deborah was mentioning, so training to get partnered with payments can increase your loyalty quite significantly, and we have some evidence that up to 40% of loyalty can be created through more technology together. But I would also like to say that technology alone will not solve it. You need to know what you're using your technology for, and by who. And as much as I think it's important that we continue to invest in some of the, did you mention the Silicon Valley solutions, or what did you say? I think we need to do that as well. Because we need to see what is out there, what is possible, what can we create. But we also need to then, once we get to a local implementation, we need to make sure that we have improvement loops, etc., together with farmers, and other communities, so that you get a solution that can really work for farmers. Then one thing that was mentioned earlier as well that I think is really, really important for us, and that's how can we share data? How can we make sure that companies that actually have data, we know that the quality might not always be very good, but how can we join forces to collect data in a structured way? We can collect data that is similar so that we can aggregate data and create investment solutions together with a broader set of data that is available.
Thank you.
I'll stop there.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you. There is another session starting. I would love to continue the discussion, and we will. We have one more day of summit, so I invite everyone in the audience to engage with our speakers, and I thank you very much for what you brought here, because from what we are hearing today, I think that bridging the gap is not only possible, but it's already happening in many ways. So I wanted to thank you for bringing some concrete example and for the great work that you're doing, because we are seeing that trust-building innovation that put processes that put farmers at the center exist. And this means that when we act together, the path gets more and more clear. So thank you very much. We're going to close this session for today. And thank you to all the speakers and the UN Global Compact for the collaboration. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very much appreciated. Thank you. Assistance.
We can sound test. Test. Sound. Ladies and gentlemen, we kindly ask you to vacate the room. We have a security sweep happening. We kindly ask you to vacate the room. Ladies and gentlemen, sound ጨምርልኝ. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we kindly ask you to vacate the room. Yes, we need all